Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and welcome to my new series called Pro Builds, where I'm going to look at professional Vainglory player builds, the interesting ones at least, and then talk about them. Let's start with FlashX from Team Solo Mid. He brought out a really interesting build on Adagio versus Hammers this weekend. Let's have a look at it.
But this is a very aggressive draft from Hammers, but they weren't aggressive enough to make it work.
Yeah, that's going to be the Yummy Company Frenzy going in. Bonzi in the middle of the fight has that Broken Myth stacking up, and Playboy Afro, he's been silenced by the Null Wave. He goes down. No ability to use any of his items there. FK gets denied with a Crucible, and he's the only man standing for now as he attempts to defend his base, but TSM will deny him, taking game 2 of this series, making it look easy.
So it's really important to note that TSM were obviously ahead regardless, but FlashX's build did have a lot of utility and made a lot of sense going into the composition that they were facing. They were facing against a Fortress composition which has one mode, dive hard. It is supposed to be a dive composition to take out a singular target and go from there. Now, FlashX had Fountain and War Treads, obviously, but the Null Wave Gauntlet came out as third item, which effectively either allowed him to proc a Crucible and then get a free Verse of Judgment, or stop the Crucible entirely and get a free Verse of Judgment anyway. That's really good because it stops a Fortress in these tracks. If Fortress engages with the whole team and you Verse of Judgment them, they have got nowhere to go and you completely disengage, practically winning the fight. Now, at the start of this fight, FlashX gets a Gift of Fire with Von C onto multiple targets. He then item silences the Fortress, as you can see here, and then moves into position using his War Treads to get a really good position to channel the Verse of Judgment. Verse of Judgment gets channeled, he gets 2 stuns, TSM clean up and win the game off the back of the Kraken push. And that was just one example of FlashX performing that function with that build. Now we're going to move on to Starboy. Don't have a picture of Starboy, so we're going to use the hero that he made the play on and also using the item build that he had, and it's on his Batiste. Plays for Team Nova. Starboy, obviously a lot of you will know him if you follow the North American scene. I want to preface here that this was a really, really cool build. I'm a big fan. Take a look.
Tension bow actually becomes better as the game goes on because people are more likely to build armor, which is kind of against what Tension bow was there for in the first place. Got a little bit of a fight though. Maybe we can continue this later.
Lone Delphi's in a bit of trouble here. Starboy's trying to hold them up. That's a good fear. It does split up Gangstars. Now there's going to be another. It's the Echo. It's coming out. And Vanes is dead. It's going to be Nova pushing forward. Araki wants to go into the fight. Xenotech's in the middle of it. He's looking for some kills, but he gets taken down. Araki can't dance quick enough. It's going to be an ace. A clean ace from Nova. The seesaw activated in there.
You might have heard Dalsy mention it there, but it was Batiste using the Echo. This is the main item that I'm going to talk about here for Starboy. It was a really, really unique pickup that not a lot of other people had been doing, or as far as I could see. And it was really good at disengaging against the dive composition with a Lyra and a Koshka on the same side. It nullifies the Crucible buy because you can use one and after it gets Crucibled, use it again. And it has incredible team fight disruption. And you saw that in that fight. And we're going to go back and look at that in a bit more detail just so you can understand fully how effective the Echo Fearsome Shade was at shutting down Gangstars. Starboy's Batiste almost practically solo carried this series. Let's take a look at his positioning right away. Lyra has already portaled in. Now, Starboy has 2 options from here. As you can see, he's highlighted on the screen. He can Fearsome Shade downwards initially, or he can move into position to get a team-wide Fearsome Shade, locking Lyra up as well. He does some really incredible plays here. He ordains Xenotech right at the start. So ordains going onto Xenotech, and then uses the Fearsome Shade, which does not get blocked. He then forces Xenotech out of the Ordained, which stuns up Xenotech, and as Xenotech comes back into the fight, the Echo comes down and he gets another Fearsome Shade, then pushing Gangstars away from Nova, allowing the double ranged carries complete freedom against Xenotech, and then they clean up the entire fight. Double ranged carries with space created against Koshka will absolutely wreck her, and Starboy did an incredible job there. The next build that we're going to talk about is on Weapon Power Kestrel, and it wasn't quite as unique as the other 2, but it is something that Kestrel hasn't been seeing a lot of recently, and Juan Hernandez from NRG piloted this in the North American VG8, and I thought he did a really good job with it. So we're going to touch on this after you have a small excerpt of NRG's play.
Them from range, and then we don't have to worry. Or you're kind of out of luck for Echo Fox, in my opinion.
Certainly feeling a little bit like that. Yuzuru does have his clockwork, so can certainly spam abilities. Currently Energy
broken.
setting up
I think
to
he
take
needs
this
broken
Crystal
mid
Sentry.
before.
This is a bait. They don't have vision of Fox. But where is Super Shot? It's 2 men going in. That's a Crystal Sentry going down. Super Shot's coming around from the back end. One, very low, very vulnerable, but he gets knocked away from his team, from Echo Fox, and that's going to be Slater having to force a Crucible to stay alive. Echo Fox want the re-engage, but so do Energy, and the one shot going to make things difficult for Yasuo as he takes so much damage from these on points. Goes down to the Black Feather. Super Shot the next man, and one has the card in his book, and that's just going to be a lovely snipe to finish the job. But ace for NRG. If only Super Shot had knocked.
So we're not going to go into that fight in detail like we did the other two, but I do want to talk about the build path. This is not just for Weapon Power Kestrel. A lot of other carries have been doing this too, like Baron, for instance. And it is taking the Sorrowblade Tension Bow and the traditional double Tyrant's Monocle, and instead turning one of the Tyrant's Monocle into a Tornado Trigger. Now, Tornado Trigger offers a lot of versatility as opposed to the double Tyrant's Monocle build. Double Tyrant's Monocle is more damage on the singular hit, but having a Tornado Trigger in the build allows you to kite with basic attacks, which is very important in some situations, especially with Kestrel. You don't want to be locked into having to cast Glimmer Shot over and over again. So it makes her more versatile, less reliant on Glimmer Shot. So it's a very, very nice change to the build that makes Kestrel less about only her Glimmer Shot, but also brings her basic attacks in too. And it's a build that a lot of other weapon power carries are using right now, with the likes of Baron and Ringo picking up this build from time to time. So always consider this one when you're thinking about a 4 weapon power item carry like Kestrel, Baron, or Ringo. Hope this has been useful. I really enjoyed doing this series because these builds are really interesting and unique. I'm trying to do more. I'll do more every time I see something interesting in the professional scene, be it in the European, North American, VGA, and maybe if I can catch something from SEA or EA too. See you soon.